Well, let's see. It says here, YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. Okay then. Well, hello, dear YouTube viewers. If you're on here, I hope you can hear me or see me. If you can't, well, there you go. Another live stream eaten up by the bandwidth gods. In any case, welcome to another episode of Marketing Insights. And hope you can hear us and see us fine. Bit of a different place today, recording in, so there's some other noises happening in the background. This is real time, this is crypto, and there's things to be said and done. So there you go. Hope it's not too distracting. And hopefully it will improve and you all will be able to hear better quality audio from this point on. In any case, I wanted to go over some things with you all about Libra coin. Yes, Libra coin. The Facebook coin. Is it good for crypto? And as you may have noticed, there is quite a bit of search going on in the world about whether or not cryptocurrency is going to be positively or negatively impacted by Facebook's cryptocurrency, Libra, which is essentially a stable coin. And before I get into it, I just want to remind you all, I'm a marketing guy. I talk about marketing, specifically how marketing relates to crypto and blockchain, and vice versa. I'm not going to give you technical analysis to make investment decisions or anything like that. That's not what this show is about. And if you're looking for that, there's some really great YouTubers out there where you can get that kind of information. But this is not that place. So, however, I will give like a shout out to, some good TAers out there. If you're looking for that, check out Crown's Crypto Cave. For fun, whatever, check out Crypto Kirby, right? He has a fun persona on air as well, but also has some interesting insights, I think, from a TA perspective. But I'm not a TA person, so I really couldn't advise you. I just think they're entertaining at the very least, if not insightful. But yeah, so this is about marketing. Again, if you're doing investments, do your own research, do your own all that stuff. You're responsible for your actions. This isn't about that. This is about marketing. There's a lot going on right now in the marketing as it relates to cryptocurrency. I'm saying the past year and whatever during the whole bear market and the past 6 months during the rise of this current bull market, that this is the time that we are going to see more marketing campaigns hit their stride, and we're seeing that. Right, Bitcoin doesn't have a marketing department and yet remains king of the heap, but that's because of being first to market and having a good enough technology and all kinds of other reasons. Right? It's centralized, it's the most decentralized, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of reasons why it's on top. But even other cryptocurrencies that are doing quite well, like having a strong season. Of course, if the yesterday, markets took a little tiny dip overall for a lot of altcoins and whatever, but even Bitcoin, is pretty much maintaining upwards climb, as are a lot of altcoins. They may be losing versus their Bitcoin value. It's true. That doesn't mean they're doomed to failure. It's not like they can't ever climb another BTC comparative, right? That's certainly extinct possibility a lot of altcoins have, and that's why a lot of people are still holding their altcoins, and many are even getting back into them. And a lot of that has to do with the marketing happening in these altcoins, right? So you're seeing Ethereum and XRP and Litecoin all making big splashes of news one way or another. Litecoin with its debit card and some other involvement with some kind of ultimate fighting kind of stuff. XRP with its moves with MoneyGram, buying up a chunk of MoneyGram essentially and having MoneyGram agree to use Ripple software, whether it's XRP or XRapid or what have you. The fact is they're going to use something that is within the XRP family, and they are in cahoots essentially with Ripple now, in a good way, right? Ethereum also is, making a lot of developments on its end. Of course, they're always 18 months away. It's kind of, a joke at this point, as is Cardano, always 18 months away. But we are seeing actual developments on all of these, including Cardano, including Ethereum, on all these big players that are, though very much likely the players that will have some role in the future of crypto, right? If crypto will continue developing in the way that it has. Now, I don't expect there to be thousands of crypto when this is all said and done. Actually, I do, kind of. I expect there to be thousands of little crypto that are almost project oriented or community oriented or peer to peer oriented on a very social level, at a micro level. Things like interest groups might have their own. Um, you would wonder why. Well, it might make being a part of a community more, advantageous to the users, etc. So there's all kinds of reasons why in the end we will still end up with a even potentially thousands of tiny little ones that you never buy or trade, but they are actually still in use. But mostly, I think the market will consolidate to a smaller number of big players that represent, let's just say, the overwhelming majority of the market. And that all the other, a lot of speculative projects will fade away because they will not succeed and they won't meet their targets and simply run out of money and go out of business. But the truly decentralized currencies and the ones that have the wherewithal to withstand major moves in the market by big players who are able to, pull out big bags of cash and make markets move literally, those will be the ones that are, likely to have a strong future. And so to them, marketing technology is very important. And their relationship with each other is also very important. And their place within the ecosystem is important, right, in relation to all the others. And then when you have a new introduction like Facebook's Libra coin, or Libra, or Project Libra, whatever it's called, Libra, is the name of the crypto, and it is a project that will undoubtedly have impact on cryptocurrency. And there's no one who I think would deny that. Facebook Libra, if you just look at the news, the searches for Facebook Libra, there's already 270 million results in Google just for Facebook Libra searches. The Facebook Libra Association, if you search for that in the news, you already get more than 3 million results, and it's a massively, rapidly growing topic. If you head over to Libra's GitHub, you'll see it's being trolled, I guess you could say. There's a lot of interest in it, a lot of criticism about it, and discussion boards. People who are on GitHub easily, could fork it, learn about it. Why? Because Libra is open source, right? Published and open source by Facebook just the other day. I think it was yesterday, maybe 2 days ago. I don't know. Real recently, it's programmed mostly in Rust and a little bit of script. And actually, if you want to see a good topic review about Libra, take a look at the two most recent videos by Ivan on Tech. I'll drop the links if I can in the video below, but even if I don't, just search for Ivan on Tech, go to his channel, and look at the last, today's video, which is Thursday, June 20th, and yesterday's video, Wednesday, June 19th, and you'll see a couple of videos about Libra from a technical perspective if you're interested in the coding side at all, if you're doing any programming for your marketing work, as you should if you are at all doing MarTech probably properly as either an SEO or if you're a growth hacker as they call them, or marketing specialist. Basically, the more you're able to program, the more advantageous it is to you. So jump onto this GitHub if you know anything about programming. If you're interested in learning, this is potentially a great project to get involved with early on, because it is going to have a big impact, whether I like Libra or not. Right? That is not the point. Whether you like Libra or not is moot. It is going to be a huge opportunity because Facebook represents enormous opportunities for anyone in marketing, period. Right? And to deny that is just foolish, right? It's like denying that Google is important to SEO, right? I mean, of course it's important. Do I think Libra is good for Bitcoin and crypto? Well, that's a very involved question with a very involved answer. But in short, no. I don't think they're good for crypto, and I don't think it's good for Bitcoin on the whole. And I think that eventually it will die in the long term. And I mean that in, 10, 20, 30 years. There will be very little use for anything representing fiat currencies. And that's exactly what Libra is. It wants to be a kind of global fiat currency. It's a stable currency made up of the US dollar and other currencies and other assets. Could be gold, could be oil, could be whatever. They're creating their own stable currency, the purpose of which is to kill Bitcoin. Right? Let me be clear about that. The purpose of Libra coin is not to encourage people to use cryptocurrency, although that is one of the things that will happen. You will have many, many, many more people using Bitcoin as a result of Libra coin. But Libra coin does not intend to make it easier for you to use crypto. Not in the slightest. And if you think they are, you massively misunderstand their purpose. If you think they're not a threat to Bitcoin, you massively underestimate their ability. Libra coin is intended through open subterfuge, right, to kill Bitcoin. Why would they want to do that? Well, Libra coin is owned by Facebook, Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, Thrive Capital, Kiva, and dozens of other companies that have already put in at least $10 million to host a single node of Libra. By the way, Bitcoin noding is free. Yeah. And you have to be at least a $1 billion organization in order to qualify as a company to sign up. I don't know what the deal is with the nonprofits. Maybe they have a better deal. But you need to be at least a $1 billion corporation to buy a node. Right? And there's going to be 100 node operators, meaning each one will have a 1% vote. Right? And right now I think they have 28 or so. I guess they're lining up more. Who knows? Basically, they are selling voting power over Libra coin to these huge corporations that have a massive interest in maintaining the status quo where fiat currencies are the default currencies. And Facebook, don't kid yourself, it is a kind of fiat currency. Now, Facebook isn't the government and isn't a sovereign anything, doesn't control a kingdom or a land or anything. But it is still a kind of fiat government. What does fiat mean, right? That means that the power that is issues something, and people accept it for what it is because they accept the authority of that power. That is what fiat is, right? Issuing something by fiat, meaning by the power vested in you by Almighty God, or in Facebook's case, by the very fact that they are the single largest social network on the planet, representing more than 2 billion people, which is bigger than any country on planet Earth, including India and, yes, China. Right? So Facebook is able to build automatically not just the biggest bank on Earth, which it will do, right, with its 28 partners. I love how they call them partners. They're just companies supporting this agenda because they don't want to get wiped out by crypto, and they all see where this is heading. They all know that crypto is going to wipe out fiat currency. And I'm not trying to spread fear. I'm just really not. But if you just look at history, fiat currencies do not survive. They ultimately all go to zero. It's just a matter of history. And the reason for it is because eventually they lose their value. And one of the biggest reasons they lose their value, aside from governments changing, right, revolution is a big one, but aside from that, and by the way, revolution does not, can't take out Bitcoin, right? Because there's no government in charge of it. But revolution can take out your fiat currency, whatever you use. as can regulation, as can devaluation, as can, because of over hyperinflation or anything else like that. Ultimately, fiat currencies have all failed. Just look at it. It's a fact in history, right? Name one that has gotten better and better in time. It just doesn't happen. Um, and the people that control the central banking system, meaning the governments that run, the countries and that issue their central banks to do those things, um, they have a very good interest in keeping that, right? So it makes perfect sense that Facebook, even though you're seeing right now governments react negatively, supposedly, to Libra. Russia's saying it won't legalize Libra because it seems scary that Facebook would own so much information about people. Well, that's complete bollocks, really, because Russia certainly knows a lot more about people than just Facebook, right? You think Facebook is the only network they use to spy in Russia? Are you kidding me? Um, the point is, right, that um, you're seeing governments overreact to Facebook because they want to seem like they're on the right side of history by telling a social network, the biggest one on earth, no, 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 you can't create that bank just yet. Hold on. We need to investigate this. Why do they say that? It's actually not because governments want to shut down Facebook's coin, right? They see that as a possible on ramp into crypto by issuing regulation onto the world's largest cryptocurrency, which it could easily become. I mean, very easily, like literally overnight, right? $100 billion is not that much for all those companies to scrape together. I mean, it's really not, right? They could put in a couple 100 billion and make it if they get the right 100 companies together, if they want to have operate the nodes, they could easily put together a company, a currency worth automatically a market cap of trillions of dollars before it even is released to the market, right? That's not a problem, right? They could easily do that. Now, the question is, will they? Or are governments really looking as for this to be, will they really try to shut this down, or will they really try to on ramp regulation through Libra and somehow use Libra as the diving board or whatever, the launch pad to get regulation to be embedded into the biggest crypto and then many others, right? Now, to me, Libra's not even really a cryptocurrency, like at all. It doesn't stand the test of being a cryptocurrency in the slightest. Yes, they might use cryptographic technology to make it technically a cryptocurrency. That's fine. But the notion of a cryptocurrency and how it has been marketed to date and branded to date and conceived of and understood and perceived to date is a cryptocurrency, generally speaking, should be a decentralized cryptographic currency, which then offers the user a lot of protection in the fact that it is decentralized and no single party controls it all. That is one of the major advantages of cryptocurrencies because it ensures that your assets remain your assets and no one can control them. No one can tell you they're not yours. And as you know, in fiat currency systems, all too often it is very easy for the powers that be to somehow mess with your money. I mean, that is not something that only happens to a very small minority of people. If you are an expat working overseas, you probably do wire transfers on a regular basis, or if you're in a business that has international clients, you probably send wires all the time. You know that sending and receiving money from one country to another, one system to another, can be extremely complicated, and even more so, extremely costly, and even worse, extremely time consuming, right? So all that headache is what keeps a lot of the current powers be in power. It significantly is. It's not a small, I mean, it's not a joke. When you think of the trillions of dollars being moved around the earth every year, every week, every whatever, um, the players that win on the transfers have all the controls right now. and they realized that cryptocurrency, real cryptocurrency like Bitcoin or Litecoin or whatever,